think we'll get started here. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our last webinar of the year. My name is Elizabeth Daly, and I'm the Executive Director for the National Foundation of Swallowing Disorders, which is a nonprofit advocacy organization for people impacted by difficulty swallowing across the age spectrum. For those of you who have not previously joined one of our webinar events, I'd like to share just a few housekeeping items with you. You will be muted during this webinar. You're welcome to type in a question at any point in the question box on your toolbar. We've saved plenty of time at the end to address any questions that you have. We will record this presentation and make it available on our website to view on demand. We recognize that the global time zone differences may make it challenging to watch the live broadcast. No ASHA CEUs are provided for this webinar, but you will receive an automated certificate of participation 24 hours after the ending of this webinar. We're also happy to provide a more detailed certificate upon request. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Jan Pryor to introduce today's guest speaker. Jan is a founding board member of the National Foundation of Swallowing Disorders, and she currently serves as our support group coordinator, assisting nearly 24 local support group chapters, including running a local chapter of her own in Seattle. I've learned so much from Jan, both personally and professionally over the years, and it's an honor to work alongside her. So Jan, if you'd be willing to introduce Teresa, I'll turn it over to you.
Certainly. Thank you, Elizabeth. It is my pleasure and honor to be able to introduce Teresa Klein, who will be our speaker today. She's going to be talking to us about managing the holidays when you have difficulty swallowing, and she speaks from personal experience. And I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of you who have head and neck cancer or even any kind of swallowing problem, as well as hopefully be helpful for family members and for speech pathologists to really be able to understand this and perhaps provide support and more information for those that you know that have this problem. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about Teresa's background. She grew up on a dairy farm, so she's a farm girl from the Pacific Northwest. She currently lives in Washington State with her devoted husband, Corey. I've met him. He is a love and very supportive. She also lives with her fur baby, Dixie Pearl, a corgi. And I hope we get to see pictures of Dixie Pearl. She also has 2 boys who are young adults now and some of them have launched from home, which is one of her. She loves her children and her family, and that is most precious to her, as will come through. It comes through in some of these pictures as well. So my relationship with Teresa began in the medical setting as a speech pathologist, as I met Teresa through her medical condition, and I feel it a privilege to be on this path with her. I've learned so much from her, and I admire her tremendously in terms of her courage is the first thing that comes to mind, and her honesty and her generosity. And she is being generous today in terms of sharing her experiences with everybody and making this a public presentation, which is always scary for people, myself included. And also she's been generous in sharing her experiences and supporting other women that have had oral cancer. I've had patients come through that are women with tongue cancer, and she's connected with them, and she now has a little gaggle of women that do things together in the community that support one another. So that's just another example of her generosity. So I know you're all going to really enjoy this presentation. And without further ado, I will introduce or turn this over to Teresa.
Thank you so much, Jan and Elizabeth. I am Teresa, and Jan said in a nutshell why I'm here, and what I want to communicate is how I got here. In 2016, I was 47 years old, and they had been watching a white spot on my tongue, and it seemed like over a very short period of time, it grew, became irritated, and by the time it was biopsied again, it was stage 4 cancer. So I went to Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, did chemotherapy first because I was in an experimental treatment, which did work. Then I had the surgical resection and reconstruction and then radiation. I was trying to hold on to my job, basically. It has a lot of oral presentations and speaking, and my tongue was tethered to the floor of my mouth with the flap that they had used from my arm to create a new tongue. And I begged my surgeon, and he complied with doing an untethering, but it did not heal well. The tissue had been radiated, and I ended up with ongoing infections. And the result was a major surgery a few years back for the debridement of all of that. And now I have just a little nub of a tongue that's left, and I have an obturator in my mouth that helps with my speaking now. So currently, I am on a 100% blended diet, and these are just some pictures of before. You can see my sons were pretty small. During, I just put these up here because I know that someone is going to relate with these photos of the surgeries, the radiation, possibly wounds, and then my children, because they all have a why that they go through this and hit trudging the road forward. So my question to you is, what is your why? My why is my family, friends, celebrations that I treasure more now than I did before, and just wanting to be there and wanting my family to be able to enjoy life with me as well, in whatever shape or form that looks like. And that was Victor Pearl, my fur baby. So we know why, but how? How do they do this? We know that I matter, you matter, our family and friends matter. Every day is a hit. Every day is a hit, a present. But how do they navigate the holidays with our limitations that have happened because of whatever, surgery, a stroke, something that we were born with? How do they slay the season when it's tough to swallow? We start by strategizing for less stress. We plan ahead and make a list. When am I going? Where am I going? Who am I going with? And what are my tools? So let's talk about our tools. They have an acronym, SAHAP, and that is for putting on the SAHAP. We start with our self-care, attitude, communication, assess our capabilities, prepare the host, and that might be ourselves or a restaurant or a family member, but wherever we're going to be interacting with others. And finally, we want to practice. So number 1 is self-care. Nurture your spirit. Nourish your body. Prioritize immaculate oral care. Get plenty of rest and plenty of sleep. Talk. And if you can't talk about fears and concerns, it helps to write them down first. Maybe have a journal at the bedside or wherever you like to sit. And when things pop up that rip through, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, write it down, and you can refer back to that later and come up with a solution. And practicing positive affirmations. Progress, not perfection. I am grateful. I can do this. I have these things printed out and posted on my bathroom mirror, and I try, progress, not perfection, right? But I try to say this to myself every day. Number 2 is attitude. This is where I have a choice, and I have to be very intentional about my attitude, as I go through this process. I believe that we're all going through the stages of grief as we have lost a part of ourselves. So choosing my attitude, it does need to be intentional. So in the holiday situation, is my focus on people, relationships, and being present in the moment, or food? What is this really about? Prepare for the visuals and the smells, and everyone talking about the food. Do this, do that. Prepare emotionally for this. I'm gentle with myself, and I ask, can I just enjoy the smells? Can I avoid having a pity party? And for me, that sounds like something sarcastic, like, I'm glad you can enjoy that, or I remember when I could eat salad. And that hasn't been helpful for me. I've fallen victim to that a few times, and if I can avoid that pity party, things go better. For us, food does not have to be the main event. It is about the people. And when someone attempts to sympathize with us, we can be honest but still positive. I say this a lot. It is an investment for sure, and it's been very hard, but I planned ahead for today. I ate beforehand, and I'm just so happy that I can be here to spend time with you. Tool number 3 is communicate. Those fears, talking about them will zap their power. Never assume that other people, no matter how much they love you, how much they love us, they don't know what our needs and our wants are unless we tell them. If you can't talk about it, write it down and begin by sharing with one person, or maybe saying them out loud to yourself, and then start sharing them with who will be able to help during an event. It might be the host and or who you're going with. If you are hosting, assign helpers and start a conversation as early as possible about the specifics. Be as realistic as we can in what they are and are not willing or able to do. Take care to be honest about our energy level and make a list. Number 4, assess capabilities. If I can eat by mouth, what can I eat safely? What consistency? Is it more important to talk and communicate or to eat? Would a notebook and pen or a bulletin board, this is an example of a bulletin board, you can write on it and push the button and it goes away. I keep one of these in my bag. Sometimes even if I'm able to talk, a sound will not come through, and it just helps to have this. Do I need a special mug, spoon, or utensil? What beverage is best? If I can't eat at all, what can I do? And when I'm thinking about all of this, I really do not allow myself to begin to feel guilty or bad about special requirements. It is what it is, and having these things is the same as anyone else having whatever they need to have to it. So don't fall into that feeling that you don't want to bother someone, because it is what it is. And I lost my friend here. In the realm of what we can do, there are things that maybe the host could help us with. We could ask people to share memories from the past, goals for the next year. I could write these things down. And also, if I'm not able to do anything other than just be present, that is a-okay. It's a-okay to just be in the moment. Remember, I am a human being, not a human villain. I struggled a bit when remembering decisions of not being able to eat anything by mouth, and feeling so rich and overwhelmed and exhausted. And right after some of the treatments, that's how I felt. It was all I could do to just be present. And we need to give ourselves permission to just be. I visualized myself sitting at the table, everyone else is eating, and I'm okay with just being present and enjoying the moment. I don't have to be doing anything at all. It's not awkward. It is different, but it's okay to just be still and be in the moment, and accept that sometimes our presence is the present. Okay, more practical tips. Number 5, prepare the host. Be honest. If I'm feeling anxious, it's better to talk about this beforehand. I can be proactive by starting the conversation. If I'm hosting, be realistic about enlisting help and allowing time for my own meal prep and eating if needed. Let them know, and then the host, what serving pieces and utensils I need. Bring my own place setting if that's easier. Ask to this up first and have a space to curate or prep my meal so people aren't waiting for me, and allow enough time for this. Designate one person to go to the bathroom with me if I have an issue. If I cannot or choose not to eat with the group, ask the host if there's anything that I can help with, like dishing up, refilling serving bowls. Oh, do I have a visit toy that I like to hit my hands with it if I have a hard time sitting still? Whatever is going to be the best for you, do that and have that with you. It's a great time to get creative and think outside the box. And if I eat by feeding tube, I've done this before. I have this, have my feeding tube stuff there, and ate with everyone else via feeding tube as opposed to by mouth. Or I can just be present. Observe. If it starts to feel awkward, focus on breathing and remind yourself this is not awkward, it's different. But breathe in and breathe out with intention and savor every moment of being with your family and friends. Remember the stuff. I have lots of stuff, and I have bags that I put it in. This is a little insulated bag that's one size for some stuff. Sometimes I'll have a purse. Sometimes I'll bring a cooler that I can pack stuff in. I always have my oral care stuff. This says they do. I take this everywhere, people's houses, restaurants, because I'm not comfortable after eating unless I brush my teeth. Some of you probably understand that that is messy, so I have all my stuff with me. I bring my blender and bone broth. I can mix this with water and heat it up, and it's an instant meal. I have a certain size spoon that works better for me. Some people have to have little tiny bites or no bites. I do better with more because I rely on gravity and motion to push it back. So if someone hands me a little tiny teaspoon, I'm just sitting there with a teaspoon of stuff in my mouth. So whatever works for you, put it in a nice bag and take it with you and don't feel bad about it. And practice. So know what you need to make, to facilitate your eating or socializing or whatever is your focus. And then do the trial run at home. It's helpful if you do it with similar foods that might be served or something that will give you a gauge of how much time it might take to prepare. And note how much time it takes from this up to sit down. If you have a period diet, watch for lumps. Sometimes when you're preparing and there's a lot of everything visiting going on around you and maybe people are asking questions, I myself have gotten sloppy or distracted. Distracted is a better word. And I've had lumps in my food and have had episodes where I've been in the bathroom and choking, and so don't rush your prep. And even if I am pretty sure I'll be able to eat at the event, I always eat beforehand. Sometimes I'm pretty sure I can eat, but I want to say something, and I personally cannot do both. So if I eat beforehand, I don't get hungry. And whatever happens, it's okay. I also like to bring something that I can eat, and there's some recipes here to follow. Oh, I wanted to show you this La Crema. It is it's like a Mexican cream that mixes up whatever I'm eating with a nice creamy consistency. Can you go to a restaurant? Yes, absolutely. I do plan ahead for this by knowing where I'm going. I look at the menu. I prefer to go ahead myself and talk to someone and see if any preparations can be made. I often will find something on the menu that is blendable, and if I talk to someone, I'll find out real quick if it's possible for them to accommodate or not. If they just can't accommodate, then if that's where everyone else is going, I will make something at home. I will also eat beforehand, but I'll bring it in a hot thermos, and just I have my meal there. Everyone understands when you have a medical accommodation that there's no stigma in that. It is what it is, and if they can't accommodate, I just bring my own food, but often they do accommodate. So put on your sock hat, and I brought, this is my sock hat today. I'm putting it on because it's easy to lose our sense of humor. Frustration, anger, sadness, misfitings, survivor's guilt. All of these things can cause my sense of humor sometimes to I just wonder where it went. So I know it's in there, and finding a sense of humor makes things a lot more enjoyable. And the way they find it is by taking care of ourselves. So have our soft cap on, self-care, attitude, communicate, assess where we're at, prepare people who they will be in contact with, and practice. Yes, you can. These are some pictures of me camping. So this is a barbecue pizza on the barbecue. And let's see, this is the pizza in the blender. And I definitely have some of this in there, probably some bone broth. Some bone broth. I make my own bone broth too, and there's recipes to follow. It's so good for you. And this mug, can you see my pointer, my cursor? I'm moving a cursor around.
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
So this, I believe this is a hamburger. So this was this camping trip. Here, I can't quite do the marshmallows. They did not blend up well, but this is a hamburger. And what makes a really good hamburger that I can eat is the pickle juice and then a little bit of ketchup and mustard drizzle. But whatever your favorite things are, it'll blend up, and don't limit yourself. This is something that someone prepared for me on a cruise. So that's this ham. Do not say it can't travel, cruise, motorhome, fly. They can do all of it. There's a plan to do all of it. Tube fitting, terrain, however they need to do it. So these are some recipes that will be served, I believe, in this PowerPoint will go out, correct? Okay, so I'll just sort of whiz by these. I wanted to put something savory in there, this asparagus soup is so good. And bone broth. The key to bone broth is the vinegar. It is what pulls the nutrients out of the bones. Okay, I found my sense of humor and added this slide because I read that this chicken fit paws have a lot of holidays in them. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I almost didn't do it because they said that they look like. But that broth was so, like, it had all of that gelatinous gelatin where I knew the collagen was in there. And this look it up on the internet. It's pretty informative. And that's it. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Mhm.
And we're stronger together.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of this. That was fantastic. Are you okay if I ask you some questions here from some of the participants?
Absolutely.
Excellent. There's one person who's watching right now who's also a survivor of head and neck cancer who wears an obturator, and they use it for speaking more than for swallowing. And so typically they're only using it for speaking. Do you use your obturator all the time? Is it comfortable? Do you use it more for speech than for swallowing, or for both?
Mine is very comfortable. The roof of my mouth is intact, so I'm not protecting a sinus or anything like that. I almost took a picture of it And then I thought I should take it out, but I just don't want to. Mine is very comfortable, and it helps my spit and my swallowing because my tongue is so minimal that when food is in my mouth, if the obturator is not there, more of the food will just end up in that roof of my mouth, in that pocket. So it helps take up some of that space. And I do remove it at night. And I'm very careful about my oral hair and the roof of my mouth to not get any problem with that, because there is something up against that most of the day. But I have it in all day. I'm actually uncomfortable without it. My voice tone is much different. And so it is the last thing I do before I go to bed is remove it.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. I know you mentioned during your presentation that swallowing is difficult, especially in smaller volumes because you're relying on gravity. Is aspirating something that you and your medical team worry about with your swallowing?
Susan, I was just trying to swallow right there. It's not happening. There we go. So yes, it has been a concern. And I have luckily not had a major problem with it. But I've been very, very aware of my swallowing and protecting my airway. Some things that have been helpful for me is I noticed early on when I was just rinsing my mouth that if I could do that gargle reflex, that's a person with gargle, but I didn't tilt my head back, and I wasn't dangerous with it. I hit my head forward, but I found that that is a way that I can feel in my throat that resistance to something going down my airway, and it's a mechanism to propel something back into my oral cavity if it starts to go the other way. I have a problem with straws, but I don't try and drink through a straw because that's sucking. While I'm sucking, there's no airway protection, so I don't do straws. And I'm just very, very aware of protecting my airway all the time. I sleep with my head elevated still. For a long time, I slept with my head way up. Now I'm on 2 pillows. And I turn a little bit to the side, but I'm pretty vigilant about protecting my airway even when I'm sleeping.
Thanks for sharing that. You said you always bring your bag of oral care products. What do you use for oral hygiene and oral care?
I'm glad you asked me that. But now where did I put it? Oh, here we go. So I like to have this all tidy and something handy, because when I'm at home, it doesn't matter. I can have my stuff all over the place. But I am very intentional about making myself go to restaurants, go to people's homes. So this is the top of the mouthwash bottle, and this or a little Dixie cup. I have a little Dixie cup to have to put water in. If I don't want to use the tap water, I might have a bottle of water with me. I have toothbrushes, and I don't have to use toothpaste, but this is not my prescription toothpaste, which I'm getting a refill on right now. But whatever toothpaste, I use a super soft Nimbus toothbrush. And then these are, you can get these on Amazon, and they're little portable toothbrushes with a flosser in the baggie. And these will fit in a pocket, and they have a little bit of toothpaste, and it's not too, I use the word spicy, it's not too harsh. It was a solid 2 years before I could put anything in my mouth that had any resemblance of mint, pepper. 2 years, so be patient. But this toothpaste on here is not too spicy, I'll say. So this is what I bring, and also paper towels. So I have this in my car all the time, just a whole roll, and I am always pulling off a thin shit, and that will go in my bag a few days because we're gonna lay paper towels out if you're in the public area. And also, excuse me, sometimes all they have is a hand dryer. There's no paper, so they're gonna have paper towels. It's rare, but I have walked into bathrooms and been like, I'm not doing this. I'm not. I have to take the operator out. It's like I really most of the time am able to take care of my mouth in a public restroom. I just make my space, do my thing, and keep it as sanitary as possible. But I also have been known to go out to the car and just, brush my teeth outside the window. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I want to ask you a question about your family and friends, your support system, and their reaction while you were going through treatment and afterwards, especially around the holidays. So I have a story here to share from one of our moms that was part of our pediatric support group. She said that it was her first holiday with her kiddo who had trouble swallowing, and the family, this is a different situation to what you've gone through, but the family kept saying, oh, let the kid stay with me, I'll fix him, or I'm sure he can eat this, let him try this, kind of pushing them. Did you feel any push from your family, or what was their response when you were telling them what you can and can't do in terms of swallowing?
Their responses were very varied and different depending on the person. So some of my family expected me to just be all better. And with my older sister, for example, she would prepare things that she assumed I should be able to eat, like scrambled eggs or a soft pasta, macaroni and cheese, or something like that. And she knows that I'm on a blended diet, but I found that people will make their own assumptions, and I remember their heart. That A, they want me to be better, and B, they're trying to help. And then I thought, C, what can I say that will help them understand? So I really come up with some analogies, like imagine that you're taking a big old spoon, like a big old spoon of peanut butter in your mouth, and you can't swallow it, and then you're asked to read a paragraph out of Shakespeare or something. Or you like push your tongue down to the bottom of your mouth and now have a tube of Zevil or something that you think is soft that you should be able to swallow, right? But you can't push it back. So the responses have been positive overall, but I have to advocate for myself, and if someone's off base, I gently just let them know that I can't do that.
Mhm. I'm sure that comes easier with some people more than others. People that you're closer to, it's probably easier to be more honest with your feedback.
Right, and if it doesn't matter, so say I'm going to visit Aunt Velma, and I see her twice a year, I'll just, without compromising my safety, I'll just go with it, you know. But if it's my husband's, then that person needs to know what's safe and what's not safe.
Mhm. Yeah. There's a question from somebody. How do you prepare for a last minute holiday event? And I know that kind of goes against what you said with planning, but what if
But
something surprise comes up? What would you do in that situation?
so that happens, and I visualize. I do a lot of visualization, so I visualize being around people in food atmospheres a lot, so I'm sort of mentally prepared. And some things, like I'm gonna go back. I can control this side business. Some of this stuff I have with me all the time, or just on hand. And then I also have in the back of my mind, what can I pick up at the store if I need to, if I need to have something to eat. So there's those, right after radiation, you can't do tomato soup for a while. Well, actually, this is a good one, the bone broth. This, if you can do a soft, drinkable yogurt. So have in mind, and maybe if you have a significant other or a person who you do things with, give them a list of emergency things that if someone else has to do the picking up for you. But a last minute thing is is handled by knowing what you have to have in general and being able to grab that at the last minute, and just being okay with bringing your whole bag of stuff. So I have stuff now that I didn't used to have.
Mhm.
It comes with me everywhere.
Yeah, that comes back to the planning and preparing. Kind of always be prepared. Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Thanks, Teresa. Just want to read a comment here from somebody else who's on our call who also is on a blended diet. They just said fabulous suggestions with many, many exclamation marks. So thank you for sharing all of these ideas and tips with us. It's really appreciated. What's been the biggest surprise reaction that you've had from family, friends, or strangers in response to some of the modifications or accommodations with your eating?
I think the biggest surprise reaction has been someone who saw me in the beginning and then they see me a few years back. In fact, listening now, I'm thinking of a few years back. I had a friendship with someone, and then they moved away, and I came in contact with them recently, and they were surprised at how much better my voice sounded. And I have not been able to say that because it happens over time. Our brains and our bodies adjust, and they learn how to modify and navigate. And believe it or not, you are doing better than you were. And it will continue. There may be setbacks, but overall, our brains and our tongues and all of it does rewire, and they do begin to get better.
We have another person here asking, as a host, a person that does not have a swallowing disorder but is hosting somebody that does for the holidays, what do you want them to know, or what should they do to prepare?
So they should talk directly to the person. Do not be shy about maybe, I know I don't like to talk on the phone, send them a text, whatever, however they communicate. Ask them what would be helpful. Maybe it depends on the person. Some people might not want to talk about it. And in that instance, I would ask some more direct questions like, well, what type of diet are you on? Would you like to, if it's a puree diet, maybe don't say would you like to, say I will have a space in the kitchen, if you want to do any special prep. And I think that is sufficient. Just to touch base, maybe as early as possible, actually. Touch base as early as possible, and go from there, and just be aware that it may or may not be an anxious time for them, emotional. So just being inquisitive and sympathetic, but not like a pity party either. There's this line that you don't want to. Nobody wants to hear, "Oh, I'm so poor you, poor." That is, it's just not necessary. But they do appreciate the awareness that things are different.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I remember the first time that I was around somebody that had trouble swallowing and I was eating a meal, I felt uncomfortable and I spent so much time thinking about me. And it's not about the person that doesn't have the swallowing disorder. And so the person with the swallowing disorder should not feel the need to make the person without one feel comfortable. That's not your job. And I'm just throwing that out there for the speech pathologists that eat with people that may have swallowing disorders. It's not about you. But I also think it's nice to have a conversation about it, and just say, what can I do to help or not help, or what would make you more comfortable? So, and everybody's different. We all have our own preferences, communication styles, like you said. So thank you. Jan, do you have any questions, thoughts, things you want to add?
I just wanted to ask, had something for Teresa that she's talked about before that might be helpful for other people to hear. It's related to eating with others, but not necessarily at the holiday. How you learned to cook for your family. You were cooking for your father and your sons at one point. So how did that work when you were eating a different diet from them? Can you, because that's where the crema and the bone broth come into. So it's something magical that you learned that you've shared with me I've never forgotten. So I think it would be nice to share it with more people.
Okay. Well, first of all, when I was on tube feeding, I discovered that I still enjoyed the smells and the atmosphere of that social meal time. So I continued to cook for my family, and it took some time to come to the acceptance of this is how it is. I always had the hope that I could eat again. But what happened over time was I thought, how can I still eat a normal diet and do it safely and not have to eat something different? So even when I was on food feeding still, I was starting to puree whatever they were eating. So say it was spaghetti. So I would put a serving of spaghetti in the blender, and then I thought, what would go with this? Or maybe the sauce was a bit spicy or something, and I needed to tone it down. So this stuff, this is amazing. It's basically like sour cream, but it's liquid, and it has allowed me to eat stuff that normally would have been too spicy. But I started experimenting with whatever everyone was eating, chicken, spaghetti, pizza, hamburgers, whatever. Put a little bit of whatever I like in the blender, and then add bone broth, if it's seafood, citrus is really good. And I blended it up, and with the food thing, you can't put any chunks or anything in there. I have a lot of food thing blowouts because I was trying to put stuff in my food, but I just started experimenting, and now that I'm on a puree diet, it's more simple. I make what I'm gonna make that has never changed, and I modify it to my own consistency. One thing I haven't tried that I really want to try is a baby food maker, a baby food pureer, because you know how baby food is so smooth. I think that might be a good tool that I haven't tried yet. This is the easiest one to travel with, and it's just, it's just super easy.
Great, thank you. I think that was a big aha for you. And you also like to put your things in very pretty mugs and dishes. You probably can see that if you look at her pictures, you'll see how she feels like she would always try and find something pretty. Part of the beautifully blended idea.
Yes.
Check out her YouTube.
So it's on their beautifully blended _ puree diet on YouTube. I have the food videos up, but I need to do more. I haven't done one in a while, but the St. Patrick's Day one is pretty good. But so it has been very important to me to have things visually appealing. And part of that is I have my favorite mugs. I have, funny mugs. And even if I'm by myself, I'll put a drizzle of some color contrast, or maybe it's a little dab of butter, or, oh my gosh, I made browned butter the other day, for Thanksgiving. And that is, I have never made browned butter. That is a wonderful topper. Yeah.
I love it. And I can tell you do too when you get inspired.
I'm too blessed to be stressed.
You're too blessed to be stressed. Oh, nice.
My
Nice.
son's girlfriend got that for me. And so these mugs with the toppers they're really handy to have. And also Ziploc bags, because they will also hold liquids or whatever.
Excellent. Teresa, are you up for just a couple more questions
Oh,
before we?
absolutely.
Okay, excellent. There's somebody on the call that's on a liquid diet and they also use gravity, but mentioned that their swallow is not a social swallow, meaning that it's, yeah, not necessarily considered graceful in a public space to swallow like that. Do you have any tips, thoughts, recommendations?
So depending on what I'm eating, my swallow also is not socially normal. And so there's like the head tilting, and then, many swallows as opposed to one normal swallow. And I think it depends on our comfort level. And at some point, just being okay with it is what it is. So I've had to do that at restaurants where, I have a saying, spit happens. And I would say practice. If you have someone that you can eat with and practice with and say, this is this sit across from me, and I'm gonna try and sip on this, and I'm gonna try and swallow, and really just let me know your like, how did it go from their perspective, and how did it feel to you?
Mhm.
Sometimes it makes things better than they have to be because we're so self-conscious.
Mhm.
And sometimes we minimize things that shouldn't be minimized. So having a person that you could bounce some practice off of would be very helpful to hit it right size. Is this something that I should even worry about, or do I need to hit processing, or
Yeah,
or what? But having a second or third pair of eyes
that's a good
is
suggestion.
super helpful.
Thanks. Jen, have
And
you
also
ever? Or go ahead.
having being okay with having a tissue,
Mhm.
all the time.
Yep.
That helps me. I don't spend much time at a restaurant without something over my mouth.
Okay. Yep. Jan, have you ever taken patients to a restaurant for a therapy session?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not done that. Have you?
No, but I think that would be a very functional way
Yeah.
to, like Teresa said, have somebody let you know what was it like for them.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
Those
thing.
swallows that aren't social, let's say you're coughing or clearing your throat or wiping your mouth after every sip or bite. I've heard some people in our support group say that loud places like sports bars, people don't notice that. And Sonia, our support group leader, always says people are way more into themselves than anybody else. So a lot of times people aren't noticing what you're doing. But also, on the same spectrum, people that are having trouble swallowing often have trouble talking too, and so noisy environments aren't necessarily the best place for communicating. So a double-edged sword with that one. But I want to be mindful of your time here. Oh, the boogie board, yep. Excellent. Having some way to communicate if you're in a noisy environment or even just all the time with you. Teresa, I want to be mindful of your time and thank you so much for presenting today. I know it takes a lot of courage and bravery to share your personal story, to speak on a webinar in this setting. So thank you. Thank you for all the wonderful tips that you gave us. This was very well received. I have a lot of positive feedback here in the comment section I'll share with you. But on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Teresa at our email here, or you can reach out to the foundation as well. This is our final webinar of the year, and so with that, I want to wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year, and hopefully we will see you back here in 2025. Thank you everybody for joining us, and again, Teresa and Jan, thank you both.
Thank you so much.